Ew, why is the exposure so high? Stuff is way too high. Also, this is like a smidge loud. Probably better. Alright, let me open Notepad and a timer. I still time these. Not that they're on a strict timeline when I don't have any others, but it's just nice not to make these unnecessarily long if I can help it. 20 minutes? We're gonna skip like probably like 10 minutes of it or so. We'll go like here. Wherever this match starts is good. Good enough. Let me see what it says. Losing hard on defense and not winning hard enough on offense. Losing. I'm gonna be real, man. The Dizzy defense leaves a lot to be desired. There's some stuff there, but Dizzy defense, and then I would imagine the thing for Slayer is he kind of has the same problem I probably do in the matchup, or it's 2S is just a stop sign on reaction. It shuts down an entire like concept in your offensive sequencing that essentially forces situations you just have to deal with as the aggressor compared to like normal. But we'll see. There are some things that are nice, I think, in this matchup. It's easy to be like, I get it, she gets stunned in like 2 bad decisions, but I don't actually think that comes up like... it comes up. It comes up enough, I guess, but it's nothing like that crazy. Knockdown. Misses his backdash, probably. We'll cross up. Here, this is like minor tidbit, but me personally, I will always look at situations like this, and I'll take the Roman cancel. Not because it kills, but because it puts you at a terrible, terrible spot to win the round. No matter how the rest of the round plays out, it's a pretty good idea to do a Roman cancel here. Because at the end of the day, what you're leveraging is bar for their burst, is how I think of it. Like, any reasonable player will have to consider maybe bursting here. And you don't kill, but you put them usually like 10%. You make it so that literally any other hit kills. And if you fuck up mid-round, you'll have your burst to back yourself out, essentially. And then at that low HP threshold, even if they didn't burst and you get the hit, it's like not many people are going to take it. So it's actually an underrated spot to spend your bar. Specifically just because of how fucking huge the lead is, that it's like forcing essentially like round point is like pretty important. It's nice to keep in mind, but there's a lot of nuance to it. Yeah, throw. This one I'm like curious. You might be able to blitz. We'll look at some defensive stuff later, but you might be able to blitz BDC that. Ooh, no. I think you can make that burst safe. I won't nitpick after this last minor thing, but I think you can make this burst safe if you do 2p, 5p. Like 2p, 2p, 5p, 5p, 5p. I think that works. Yeah. Fish is too big. One thing I will say right off the rip is I don't really dead angle dizzy. I don't think it's like worth it. Boom. This kills with the Roman cancel. Yeah. He does a lot on the Roman cancel extension. I don't really think dead angling is worth it versus dizzy. And we'll kind of talk about why, but I think the resources are better used in different ways versus her. Fishes the shield. Gotta be careful in this range. That's a big hit. Wow, I'm surprised I missed. 6H? I would 6H, yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about some of the setups too. Let me pause real quick because there's some setups that are nice to know. Let me write this down. What else is she on? We'll watch till there's like maybe 20-ish, 25 minutes-ish left. Oof, that's tough. Does he still do this one versus Slayer? I guess he does. Interesting. Wonder how that works. Versus his wake up timing. God, I hate how most of my explaining Dizzy to people stuff is just explaining her Okazeme. She has like 4 or 5 different things she does. And she can rotate them based on it. He got this off a sweep, right? I don't know if that's real. We should probably check that. That might not be real on Slayer. Low key. Yeah. Yeah, Dandy, I don't know how good like Dandy is in neutral in this matchup. I mean that genuinely, like it's just hard to gauge it. It doesn't seem like it gets the job done because she puts a lot of things out that reach real far. So the retreating movement doesn't like necessarily save you a whole ton. You gotta watch out for Ice Spike YRC or that. Six H. Nice call out. He seems like he opts like this for this a lot versus Slayer. I guess it's just fast enough is the idea. Nice. I will say, so I'm no Slayer player, and I won't say, we'll talk about it like more after this, but I still think there's like not much reason to interact with Dizzy unless you know how it's gonna go. Because most of the setups are layered in specific ways. So that it's like, even if you escape, if you strike, you're probably gonna hit a fish around that time. Which means like, you still wouldn't beat Dizzy a lot of the times. That's just how Dizzy works, right? That's a lot of her identity with the fishes on Oki. But what I mean is like, I don't really believe in like wasting resources too much versus Dizzy unless I'm like pretty sure there's good RPS there. Like I have a reason for her to not want to bait it. But a lot of people will usually be like, what do I do versus Dizzy, you know, like on wake up? And I'm usually like, you kind of have to understand how the setup works, and we'll talk about some of them so you have a better idea. But for the most part, it's either finding a gap later or knowing that there's something you can represent immediately that's like successful for sure, right? And even though to us, oh, I'm surprised. Even those things are kind of iffy because a lot of the times Dizzy's solution to things like that is to just kind of like wait and bait. She'll still have like meaty things on Oki and then she'll just bait and then collect her punish to knock down. Scare your burst point. There's a good recognition on the hit to get the sweep. Boom, 6p maybe. Oh, I'm surprised. He opted for throw. This is chill. I actually don't know if I advise on this in the neutral because I don't think I don't think Slayer has a way to reach her before she can summon, like before it actually exists. Some characters do, like IDJS with biking kind of reaches sometimes because it just reaches so far. But I don't think Slayer literally has anything there. You might have to just let the burst happen. Just delay tech back, and if you're farther away, it means less if he gets laserfish. But it obviously means more here. So there's probably no reason to overextend. It's easy to be like, oh no, zoner, I don't want them to set up. But like, some characters off of full screen bursts are just going to set up. You just don't have the frame advantage to deny it. I don't think Footloose, air dash Footloose goes low enough. Because that's obviously like the thing you would think. But I think it's too slow. Or sorry, not too slow. I think it's too high. If he just waits in place, I think immediate IAD Footloose would like probably only catch them jumping. This is chill. This is actually pretty chill because you have bar. The hardest part about Dizzy is you have to survive the mix-up, right? But like here, I don't think this dead angle's worth it. I think you're actually better off keeping Dizzy close to you, and I'll talk about it. Because her offense has like clear points that you can interact with or understand and like try to RPS with. But I don't think that in particular is worth it. It also really hurts your meter gain for a character like Slayer, you know? It's important to avoid that. Yeah. It's not that dead angle is like objectively just a bad decision necessarily. I think of it more as like on defense. I'll put that in the notes. Talk about defense. But it's more that I don't think it like leads to enough. And like really once you survive the initial Dizzy mix-up, a lot of it is just like if she wants to spend bar or not, but the actual like pressure is just strike throw type of stuff, and we'll talk about some of it. Nice bite. Well, kind of overextending, but that's just bite. Nice. Yeah, this range is tough. He does do a lot of laserfish. I guess it does catch stuff like that. Oh no, wait, that's off of fire pillar Oki. That's not like super common. Because these are all face up timings, yeah. Wait, really quick. Oh, she does get face down off of her throw. Interesting. Okay. That's pretty interesting. I never noticed that. Don't worry, it doesn't like mean too much, but it's just interesting when you like think about how wake up timings work in the game. I didn't realize that they give her face down. I guess that's supposed to, in theory, balance the fact that she combos off of it. I don't think it would be. I don't think it would balance it out. Hey, what's up, Lauren? Nice, this is a really good dash. This is tough. On the IB here, this is very tough. The thing about Dizzy is, and we'll talk about like positioning versus Dizzy when she's cornered. Because I think it's interesting how she works is the way I would put it. Slayer might actually be one of the few people that can do something that a lot of other people can't too. But we'll check it after like watch like this one and one more. But I get it. Like it's good discipline to not what's it called? Air dash because you know you literally can't do it versus her. But I will say in situations like this, there's something important to try to keep in mind, and we'll go over it, is that defensively at this range, like Dizzy doesn't actually have very much off the instant block. if that makes sense. Because, like, yeah, you IB it, and that feels good, but it's pretty spaced out. So in all honesty, like, and like if they mash, they have to mash on something really big. And you could probably wait it out. I know that sounds weird, but like you can either wait and just delay press like 5H or do something here. But I think the idea is more like Dizzy's the type where she might check you like in place once or backdash or super jump, but she doesn't really run at you. Does that make sense? And we'll talk about it some more like when I'm talking about it in training. But like she tends to do things like this. Like she'll press something in place like that and kind of like fish for like if she can get a sweep. Where it's like, let's say you think of a character like maybe even Soul or like who's another good example? Maybe Chip with jump. Soul kind of does it. I don't know which other characters do it, but anyone that basically like maybe even just like Elfo is like another good example. Someone that's like willing to chase you specifically, like out of your pressure, is someone you would worry about waiting versus, but not really versus Dizzy. He does do cross up. That might be guaranteed, low key. By the way, I just saw this and like I know how this mix up works, and you can kind of recognize it like as it's happening. Because he sets this, and if he air dashes, he's not going to be able to do something else. So that might just be real. Assuming the laser doesn't hit meaty on the other side. But it probably does, if I had to guess. Stuff. Here you can chill. Here you can just chill. We're going to talk about Dizzy's pressure, but Dizzy with no bar, I got no reason not to wait for you. With like this is actually a really good situation for you defensively, as good as you could ask for versus a character like Dizzy, because Dizzy without the 25 bar isn't like that terrifying. Like her pressure isn't like designed to be threatening without Ice Spike YRC. With Ice Spike YRC, yes, that shit is busted, but without it, not really. Yeah, we have just enough time to probably watch this. That might always work, because that shit did not hit meaty. And he definitely tried to cross you up. We'll take a look at it. That might be nice to know. I guess he could air dash back, but there are worse things. Boom. But yeah, I stand by my point. I actually don't really think it's worth BDCing unless you have a concrete game plan. You just eat free damage from Dizzy. Like, I know that sounds corny to say, but I really do think it is genuinely better to just kind of wait around. There is stuff like that though with Slayer. If you recognize it's not like a stable Okazeme, well then like it's fine to disrespect a little bit. Astra, that was a good awareness. Watch one more real quick. I try not to pause too much. Nice. Yeah, good check on the minus. This is tough, by the way. Like, genuinely tough. I didn't think about this matchup. I won't pause after this, promise. But her being able to match stand jab there, which I think is 5 frames, into probably this button anyway, seems very obnoxious for Slayer. Because 2S also exists, so the conventional like backdash, air dash in shit like just does not work. And you'll probably still get caught swaying. That might be like you actually have to wait for that or hit the BDC bite. I don't know if there's a way around that easily versus Dizzy. That might be like legit just a BDC bite angle. Or you wait, right? Like you know they're gonna mash. Can't disrespect that. I'm surprised that went past Dizzy, but I guess he did dash in. Sorry, I want to double check this just out of curiosity. Does this actually hit meaty? Wow, it does. Dude, Dizzy has Oki for everybody. That's crazy. Slayer wakes up very fast. This is essentially unwinnable, yeah. It's very unlikely you can pull that together. Just resource-wise. People underestimate how much Exert is a game of resources, right? Same idea, by the way, from earlier. When you were applying pressure, she tends to press buttons in place like this, right? And like, there's different ways you can go about it, but holding space versus her is pretty good. She never goes towards you like directly. She usually will retreat, press something in place, or jump. So she's the kind of character where like you can hold positions versus Dizzy decently like comfortable outside of Ice Spike YRC being an option. But but she's okay with that, is the way I would put it. Like, she's also okay with you doing that. But I think it's the most stable way to, like, apply a lot of offense to her. Ooh, that was a really greedy map, though. That was a scary map, though. Yeah, see, stuff like this. Like, just as, like, as a general rule of thumb, I always remind people, and I mean it, basically every single setup you can think of with Dizzy, for the most part, is not, like, that susceptible to, like, blitz and stuff. There's a couple, like, off a sweep, like with, like, fire spear and stuff. Damn, I didn't even have the game open. Where there's, like, a handful of niche situations, I would say, where it's like, okay, cool, I can represent blitz here and then maybe jump and throw, etc. But when I say Dizzy Oki doesn't really care, I mean it. It's I would guess roughly maybe like 60 to 70% of all of Dizzy's Oki is like blitz / dead angle safe. With that, like, just doing the mix up. Like, it doesn't involve playing around those options at all. It just baits those options, you know? And I think it's a weird thing to get used to, because really most characters in the game, outside of specific situations, cannot lock out all of your defensive options. Hey, what's up, Larry Lombardi? But Dizzy kind of does, and like it really does add up, man. Like, people just eat. I don't want to call them free hits versus Dizzy, because, you know, like when you're trying, especially when you're trying stuff in like an online session where like nobody really cares about the outcome. It's important to test stuff, but when I say, like, there's not a lot there, there's not a lot there. You have to understand how a lot of it works, honestly. Most Dizzy Okizeme is more about escaping than it is making it your turn. The chances that you can flip Okizeme on Dizzy is, like, very, very small, because of how the fish work, right? Where they produce something on screen and also absorb a hit, and those two things are separate. Right, which is a big deal. Let me think. We'll talk about some of the mid-screen Oki. It seems like versus Slayer, he tends to go for stuff like this. When I was watching, it seems like he. Let me see. I'm guessing immediate firefish is like maybe. I just want to check out of curiosity. Because Slayer wakes up the fastest off of his face down wake up. That's just how he works. What? Why is this recording broken? Which is why I'm sure he's like, I need something as fast as possible. And I'm assuming maybe this is it? How come this recording isn't working? Am I tripping? Oh, I'm in 2x KO mode. I gotta save the recording. That's fine. There you go. I always forget. It always takes me like a second. So if I hold up, yeah, that's not me. Again, I don't necessarily think this like saves you, but a lot of things that involve sweeping Slayer don't have like the same consistency they do with other characters, because he wakes up very fast. He wakes up in like 21 or 20 frames or something like that. He might be faster. I don't remember. He might deadass be like 19 frames. Let me double check real quick. He wakes up insanely fast. Compared to the rest of the cast off a sweep, and it leans into his archetype a lot, because a lot of the situations he's minus, he's only slightly minus in. Where is it? Where is it? It's 20. It is 20. Okay. I was like, 19 seems like a little bit. It's 20. I think Biken's the one that's like 19 or 20. But this is like a pretty common one. If you see like laserfish, in other words, if you see this like firefish, a lot of the times it means he's going to left right you. Like, he's going to dash, like air dash in, and if he keeps air dashing, the laser hits you like around the time you wake up and it crosses you up. Or he air dashes and he sets an ice bubble, like this, right? He'll do like air dash bubble set, kind of like that, and it'll stop the momentum and you'll get hit same side. But you might always be able to do this, honestly, as Slayer. How the fuck do you burst in this game? You might actually always be able to do this versus it, if he commits to the mix-up. Because that not hitting meaty means, I think even if he crosses you up, forward dash might get the imbol in time, right? Because that's like the one trade-off of situations like this. Oh, I didn't save it, fuck. You could try this a little bit. I'm not gonna like talk about it more than just saying try it, and recognize the tell for the setup is if he sets Firefish and doesn't really do anything else. If you don't see like any other things come out. Let's see. We'll test it like just one time, see if I can get it. It might not be like doable on the like cross up, but you might want to test it. It's a very easy setup to record. Yeah, it looks like you might always be able to get that if he commits to the mix up. He doesn't have to. He really doesn't. He could literally dash up and block if he wanted to, or air dash and block if he wanted to. That's the thing that's annoying about Dizzy. You can't answer her Okizeme like plain and simple, but you can learn a couple options to like keep them honest. Plus, getting your gold burst blocked isn't ever a punish at a distance. It has to be like point blank so they can air throw you. So it's not the end of the world. I would say try that. You might also see setups like this, but I kind of doubt it versus Slayer in the middle of the screen. But setups like this are also a thing, where they'll get like a far sweep as Dizzy, something kind of like this. And they'll set a recording up where the Fire Spear kind of hits like the Fire Spear kind of hits like that, and then they do more stuff off of it. I think they usually like summon and then press a button and then jump. I think it's like summon, far slash, jump cancel, and then they get like a mix up. Doesn't really matter. When you see something like a sweep into this projectile, the fire projectile, generally it means Dizzy is going to meet you, right? Which means there are certain things, if you are a psychopath, like you can represent, right? Let me see if I can get the timing on this, right? Kind of like this, right? Or you might even be able to bite. I'm not going to be able to get it. I don't remember the wake up timing, but you get the idea, right? Pay attention if she sweeps you in the mid screen and either sets the Firefish or sets the Fire Spear, and like what it means generally. She can do stuff like this though. Don't get, I guess, don't go crazy with these options. It's just like ideas. Because she can do things like this. Right, wrong summon. I meant to do Fire Spear. But yeah, basically, like, any Dizzy Okizeme that, like, had a gap, she can just paste this on it, and it'll fix it for her. Like that, see? She'll get the free meaty. Alright, so don't get carried away. No matter what you try to do, like, Dizzy will find a way to be safe versus you. Like, that's safe. Obviously, the CP is not set to block, but you get the idea. These are like the most common setups in the middle of the screen, I would say, is like the sweep into the Fire Spear, the sweep into the left right is pretty common. If you start to get carried away like RPSing with these things or trying to like escape them. The other thing I was going to say on the 50-50, by the way, you might be able to blitz and then like BDC jump out of the situation in that specific sequence. I'll see if I can get it like maybe just once while I talk about it. The other thing I was going to say is... if he starts to sense that, or like if a Dizzy player starts to sense that, oh yeah, the blitz sometimes rejects. Don't get too comfortable with that idea. I just want to see if like, whatever. That seems pretty good. You could probably do blitz and like react to what side she's on and then kind of like backdash away from her. Try to get out. If they notice that you're flailing a lot, they might finally opt for this. Which probably is like, yeah, that's still fast enough. It literally has to be delayed to meaty. Alright. So they can go for stuff like this. And stuff like this will kind of like remain a pain in the ass no matter what. Because I'm not like a betting man, but if I had to guess, I don't really think BDC like sneaks out of all of this. But let me see. But yeah, it might. Basically just pay attention to what they're setting, right? Ice Fish, you can like probably like BDC it and kind of like sneak out every now and then. But usually what it means is like the Dizzy player wants like stability. So they'll do something like this because it's like pretty easy to get meaty. They'll run up, they'll press a button, and the fish hangs around for a while. So like even if you're mashing, it doesn't really matter, right? Usually I recommend people do just like kind of wait versus this. And just like chill out. You can try to blitz, you can try to push Dizzy when she's the one running up to do buttons in between the fish hits. That's like mostly it. In the corner, you only really have to worry about like two main forms of Okizeme that Dizzy tends to do. It's usually like they'll knock you down, they'll set this, you'll see TK fire bubble, they'll pop the bubble, and then they'll air dash twice or once, and that's the mix up, right? That setup is virtually unfuckwittable. Like don't bother. I mean maybe Slayer can get out, but there's a lot of shit in the way. Like if you BDC and try to jump, you'll probably jump into it and block it, and it won't, like, you'll jump into the fire bubble and you'll block it and you won't do anything. If you BDC into, like, any hit, like, you know, like, doesn't matter what, anything, the ice fish exists. The ice fish will tank the hit for Dizzy, right? That setup is usually great at covering jumps and escapes because of fire bubble, and the fish exists long enough that no matter how you retaliate, you can't really get out. Your best bet would be checking if, like, blitz into, like, tap, like, dash forward can escape. But most of that sequence is so, like, airtight. Like, it genuinely jails when she does it. When she does, you know, like, this into bubble, into pop, into air dash, the explosion timing and everything lines up such that it's almost, like, always basically a true block string. So even tap blitz into, like, forward dash out or whatever, S-Slayer probably doesn't work. If you see that setup, I usually recommend just waiting. I know that's hard to swallow. There is a point where right after the explosion happens and the fish is about to bite for the final hit, if you instant block the explosion, you can sometimes blitz the final fish bite, and that's when Dizzy is doing the high-low mix-up, and she's close enough that the reject happens on her, and she actually recoils off of it, which is rare during her Oki. Outside of that, I cannot advise, like, interacting with this. You can also burst during the mix-up, and if she commits to the mix-up, it should hit her. Like, when it happens. I usually will get that burst. It's a scary burst because they could just wait, right? That is by far her strongest Okazeme. Don't dead angle it, don't blitz it, don't super it, don't BDC it. It's best if you want to wait and try to instant block the explosion, you could try to IB and, like, do blitz and see if you get the reject. That's, like, the only thing I can advise for people that cannot act out of block stun, like Baiken. The other one you'll see is sometimes they'll set, like, a fire bubble, and you'll see it kind of early. They'll set, like, a fire bubble, and they'll kind of, like, air dash like they're gonna land and be throwable because they air dash so early that it looks fake. It's like a setup like this where they do like this, and the idea is the Dizzy player will air dash back, press jump heavy. It'll still, like, hit you on wake up even if you crouch, I'm pretty sure, and then the explosion pops, and if you blitz, you hit Dizzy, sure, but the explosion happens, so the blitz is useless. If you input a reactionary, like, 4H, the air dash back will catch it. You'll get hit by JH, the bubble will pop, it'll explode. This one's fine. A lot of the times when I see that setup, I just block high. Because it's more a throw bait than it is, like, a mix-up, the way that Dizzy players usually use it. Like, the way I usually see this setup like that is usually just like a throw bait. Just don't bite. A lot of the times pay attention to what Dizzy's summoning, and that'll give you an idea. That's mostly it for her Okazeme. Don't worry, like, too much about anything besides that. Everything else would be, like, pretty niche stuff, if that makes sense. But hopefully that gives you, like, some stuff to chew on. I'd rather talk about the Dizzy defense. One of the things is, this is her, like, best option, obviously. But what I mean by that is, like, when you're blocking Dizzy, she doesn't really present too much of a threat. Her only plus option is close slash. It's +1, I think. Let me double check as I talk about it. It's like +1 on block regularly. It's definitely minus on instant block. Which means, yeah, you want to instant block it to deny her that. Yeah, it's only +1. So it's not exactly, like, super plus. It mostly feels like that because she has a fat ass 2P. But things like this are important, right? I tell people, like, right, so let's pretend you're in a situation like this, right? Where, let's say she, like, staggers a low for whatever reason, right? You can disrespect it. If you hit this instant block, Dizzy's not gonna, like, there are a couple things you have to realize she's not gonna do. If she starts to do more of her block string, she can no longer jump cancel her block strings, which is like a big deal for Dizzy. Once she commits to, like, heavy normals, she can't. Oh, actually, 2H she can. But even still, once she commits to, like, and 2H is bad because you know she has to special cancel it, or sorry, she has to, like, jump cancel it back from you most of the time. But the idea is, like, generally speaking here, if they're resetting, like, a lot, then, like, a good IB will check them. The thing is Dizzy will have to do things like this to mess with you in situations like this. And I don't think, let me put myself like a little further back so it looks a little better, like that. I don't really think you have to worry about that much. There are situations where they, like a Dizzy player can react to you like IBing this and then like I spike and get it. Don't worry about it too much. That is like, you think of it like answered card YRC, where it's like, you just kind of want them to spend the meter sometimes, and that's good enough. But what I do want to talk about is, if you instant block close slash, nothing after it is a true block string. You've probably heard me mention this before, maybe. Feel free to stop me if I have. But nothing is a true block string after this. If you instant block this isn't a true block string. Even immediate far slash is not a true block string, right? You kind of like fish around and see what you can get out of this as Slayer. But yeah, it technically means like situations like this, you could input like fuzzy backdash like that, and you'd get out versus a lot of her stuff. Even this probably, if I had to guess. Yeah, see? And the idea is like Dizzy players aren't really gonna sweep here very much unless you give them a reason like that, and sweep is only special cancelable. So they kind of have to spend 25 bar in that situation. So a lot of the times I'll just wait, right? Because it's like you have to spend the 25 bar or do something that's minus, and then we kind of reset after that, right? But those are like important things. Close slash is important to pay attention to. 2D is also important to pay attention to, because a lot of people get really impatient, but you don't have to. Usually the most stable thing to do if she doesn't have 25 bar is to just jump forward like this, right? So if she does like sweep, you just kind of like IB it. Ideally you IB it, but if you get like a regular block, it's whatever, and then you kind of hold up forward like immediately, and then you hold like back immediately. And the idea being like ice spike is insanely minus if you like IB it here, you know, if you get something like this. I can't get the timing down. God damn it. Oh, whatever, I'll just show it. This is a punish. I wanted to like get the IB and then show it, but it doesn't really make a difference. This is a punish, right? Which is cool. It means like you can always get a hit, you can always disrespect her, you can always out for like dashing and then seeing what she does. That's like the more minus one. They probably will never do that without bar. They're more likely to do this, right? And like I'm used to most people knowing about this, but some people don't. That if you instant block this, it leaves like a jumpable gap like that, right? So you IB, you jump. Why is my like up forward not working? So there we go. You jump, you IB the fire like that. My bad. That's kind of loud. You jump, you IB the fire, and you can get a punish. So like, let me say, like that, and you can usually get the punish. I think I'm slow on the air dash. Oh my god. No, what's his fastest button? Probably JP. Try that. But you get the idea. You can, there it is. You can mess with the timing, but the takeaway is IB into like hold, like jump forward, like block is good when they don't have 25. If they have 25, just assume they're probably gonna ice spike YRC. They don't have a reason not to. Like if I was a Dizzy player, I would still do it, right? Because it's just a good situation. The one thing I will say is if they do an ice spike YRC like this and you IB it, it always means there's a gap, which means that you can still check with backdash, but you want to be careful because like if they don't commit to something, you would rather be closer to them. But yeah, keep that in mind too, right? Focus on close slash IBs. Remember, it always has a gap. Remember, this is like the usual frame trap, so don't get like carried away mashing. Getting hit by this is pretty damaging in the corner. It's like decently damaging anywhere, but like more in the corner. Obviously, like still loses to blitz. Obviously, still loses to like stupid shit like this. Might even be like BDC biteable, but I'm not that clean at it, right? But I would imagine like if you can hit an IB like this, BDC bite in theory seems like it would be very annoying. But obviously that's like an executional thing for Slayer. Wait, why didn't you do? Yeah, plus you can be too far, so I wouldn't trust it. Just know there's a gap. It means you can maybe like wiggle out here and there, right? Like on stuff like this, like that. It's nice to know. it'll get him to like jump around and do other stuff instead. Sweep is also important to pay attention to. Spaced out far slash is one of those where it's like they're probably gonna ice spike YRC, or they're going to do like an air dash back, whatever. Keep it in mind, watch out for it. Those are like the main things defensively versus Dizzy, but just remember that like outside of ice spike YRC, nothing she's doing is supposed to be like that scary. If she is doing like this into like bubble sets or anything like that, you can always, they'll usually do it lower like this. You can always see it and press a button on reaction to like fake bubble sets where they try to get resets or stuff like that. You can see them set it and press a button on reaction. She doesn't have like oppressive things. It's just close slash and ice spike YRC. And that's why I say like you don't really want to dead angle her, I think. If you're scared of Dizzy up close, then you can kind of faultless her on the first hit. Like something like this is okay to do. Right? Because you'll still get the pushback on the first thing like that. It doesn't look like it, but let's look at the distance, right? So we're like this close on regular. If I faultless, we're like a little farther. See? So you can still faultless into an instant block like that and create a similar situation for yourself, while also making it so that if you, gotta keep doing it. I keep releasing it too early. There we go. Making it so that if she wants to redash and throw you, she has to go a lot farther, right? Dashing up from here to get a throw is a lot farther than dashing up from here to get a throw. Those are like the main things defensively. And then really quickly, I'll talk about like the offense versus her. I usually tell people the whole thing is when she has Ice Spike YRC is a very strong option. It changes the dynamic of everything. She tends to have it. Most of the time, I think it's fine to stand here versus Dizzy. I think this range is good versus Dizzy, like with a lot of characters, not just Slayer. But the idea being like, if she sticks something out at the wrong time, then whatever you stick out will catch it, right? Like you kind of want it so that whatever she's pressing will whiff. And if she wants to get a hit, she's got to press something in quotations like committal. Like this is in quotations committal because she has to special cancel it. All of the special cancels are bad except for like Ice Spike YRC. Bad in the sense that like summons are something you could instantly like mash versus and you'll get it, and the stuff that protects her in those situations does not lead to combos. So the situation isn't threatening except for the Ice Spike YRC. If she has it, sometimes I'll just wait. I'll wait for the literal Ice Spike YRC, or if she does like 2D and I beat it, I would backdash and just take the meter. Like you know they're gonna do it. It's very obvious they have to do it most of the time, right? But what I was saying is, like, when you're pressuring at this distance, I think she's a pretty solid character to just 6H every now and then. Especially in the distances like this, where 6H leaves you in the same situation, right? Again, you have to be careful about Ice Spike YRC. Because, like, if he IBs this, I don't know if you can bait it. I'll be honest. So you have to watch out for that. But outside of that, like you actually had a lot of situations somehow where there wasn't like too much meter on the table for Dizzy. And I think it's easy to just bully her with stuff like this and kind of wait her out. And if she's being like overly patient, then you can probably dash and press close slash like one time, right? Because like I said, she's usually doing stuff like this, or she's doing backdash into this, or she's super jumping. Right? And the idea is like you kind of want to be farther away anyway so that you can catch her better in this situation, right? Let's say he gets this super jump. Even if he air dashes out, it costs him one air dash to like just get out. And he's still positioned where he'd land into you, which means like you're still kind of positioned decently well to like shark people like this, right? This kind of thing is generally weak to strong options out of the corner. Or characters that, like I said earlier, like run at you during their offense or understand what you're trying to do, so they move at you. He'll probably do that if you do it enough, like because it'll be obvious what you're looking for. But does that make sense in terms of like, yeah, you don't need it. You actually don't really need to overextend into Dizzy as much as you think at the beginning. If they're always kind of like seeing an instant block and then mashing and things like that. Slayer's strength in that sense, and like in the context of this matchup, I think, is the fact that while it's annoying that he can't ever do like air dashes at all, that's a pretty big thing for him, the same way it is for a lot of other characters in the Dizzy. I do think it's nice for him that he has some pretty nice buttons to just press here. right? Like he can just see the IB, wait, and then like press 2H. And if 2H hits and counter hits, it's like boom, money, right? It's a different kind of feeling, I think, for Slayer, knowing that the one thing he is scared of is this. If you wait around at this range versus Dizzy, and especially if she recognizes you have frame disadvantage, like let's say this happens and they instant block it, it's the fastest Ice Spike YRC of their life, usually. Like if it hits, let me get a like farther one, like off of like P Dandy. Actually, maybe I can do it off of K Dandy. Yeah. You always want to be careful in situations like this, because if they get the... Let me do it like... Ugh. Oh my god, you gotta go so far. Maybe it's not too bad. But yeah, you want to be careful because this is like an ever-present option. And if you're in that range I talked about, or like her far slash and other things with, this is like always an option. I also don't really recommend blitzing this too much for people. It kind of depends. I used to like blitzing it. I don't actually think it's useful anymore to blitz it. I think it just kind of introduces weird RPS. I guess Slayer has like a slightly easier time if you can hit the BDC bite timing, but I think hitting the BDC bite specifically, like with the slowdown, is way too fucking hard. Like, this shit seems like you have to really practice it to understand like how to get it. I've never like, even when like for shits and giggles, like gotten the timing on this when I tested it for other stuff. It's just very hard to like actually time the backdash. Right? You can do backdash, like full backdash, and she can't probably punish it. But basically, the slowdown does not make this blitz worth it. If you're really confident she's gonna do it, sometimes I think it's fine to just give up the space. Hold on. Sorry, someone came in my room real quick. I'll usually give up space, and I'll let her whiff this option right here. And something important to remember is, like, she's not as likely to do it, but never forget that, like, as a general rule in the game, this will be, like, the last thing we talk about, because I'm going over time by a lot, is this is always a good range to crouch. Versus everybody in the game, except, like, Milia and Jam are kind of good at breaking this rule. But everyone else is pretty susceptible to it. With the reasoning being, if you're standing at a range like this and you crouch, an instant air dash will not hit you, and will finish around the distance. Let me say, it will finish like the distance it needs to, for you to punish it, like this, right? That's kind of why I say, like, holding space in this game is about understanding, like, what is the strongest thing at those points, right? With stuff like that. Same with, like, this is, like, how you would punish that. Because you would always get that throw. It's guaranteed. Once you kind of see that they're air normal whiffed, you should just get that. Dizzy has some sneaky shit. Do not let her get away with shit like this. If you notice it happening, she has a tendency to press this from very far away. And it will hit you crouching, right? So like the distance I talked about, like where you can kind of like crouch safely, if she's positioned in the air, like more or less like this, you're not safe. It might seem like it because most people would not be able, even with like a delayed air dash, like even someone like Milia does not have a button that would connect the same way this is connecting. For Dizzy, it's one of her strongest tools by far. I do think Slayer's a little privileged in the sense that, like, if you see her positioned, if you ever see Dizzy like this includes the corner, by the way, because when we were holding the corner like this, she can end up positioned like that. See? And then she can get her crouch out of the corner, right? If she super jumps, like, kind of in place and starts hovering with bubbles around here, she might be looking for that. If you kind of suss it out, like you sniff it out, you can see the screen positioning and do, like, a preemptive 6P. A lot of people cannot do this because their 6Ps still lose to the tail. But because Slayers has the whole, like, it's just my literal feet are the hurt box, he actually has a pretty good 6P for this. This is the thing I was saying earlier, where it's like, oh, I guess he probably can do this consistently. The idea is I don't wait for her. If I'm like, oh, I want to see Dizzy air dash, I probably won't actually get this as consistently, especially, like, closer up like this. I have to do it. It looks like I'm maybe reacting, but I'm definitely, yeah, being preemptive. It looks more like that if you try to react, right? You get stuffed as it happens. You can recognize screen positioning and just send it out. And the trade-off is sometimes she'll just set a bubble, pop it, and then start setting up shop, right? That's her, like, reward if she baits the 6P and you kind of whiff it doing nothing. But she might do that. But yeah, that's, like, as fast and concise as I can try to give of a rundown of Dizzy. Hopefully that gives you an idea. on like maybe like a different way to look at the matchup. Actually, I think most of the neutral didn't seem too bad the way you were playing it. I think you could maybe stand to be like a little bit more patient. There are situations in neutral that come up sometimes like this where you can do stuff like this, and it's like pretty okay at dodging both of them if you get the timing right. I always forget. I always have to remember how the tracking works on Ice Spear. I think it's that it's like it tracks late is how it works. Let me see. Is it instant or is it on spawns? But yeah, stuff like this, if you can find the timing, you can get out of it. I wonder if I have to like press a button to be smaller. Anyways, I thought the neutral was fine. Be careful like blocking stuff on the ground like this because it doesn't really lead to anything. You'd rather like even if it had to block it in the air so that you don't make the mix-up as easy. You want to be farther away if possible. You can obviously do things like this, but I don't think they're worth it because you can't tell which one she's picking. You don't want to make too strong of a mind game out of it. I mostly just thought you got knocked down a lot on like defense stuff. I thought you got knocked down a lot like just getting hit on wake up. If you're ever wondering where to burst Dizzy, generally speaking, the moment she did her mix-up is like an okay point to burst. Because she usually moves past the fish in those moments and you'll get to burst her during her like protected mix-ups. But if you burst immediately on wake up, it won't work on a lot of setups. The fish will eat it because she's not doing the mix-up yet. But anytime she does something and then she starts kind of like air dashing in or going lower, doing whatever, bursting the moment it's happening will give you a burst versus her. And that's kind of, I like remembering that because it's usually hard to get a burst versus Dizzy. Usually you have to look for buttons like this if they're closer, or buttons like this if they're closer, and then you burst them, stuff like that. Bam. Hopefully that does that make sense? I mean, we have time. Is there anything I went over that didn't make sense? I usually try to keep these concise so that if anybody does go back and watch them on YouTube, it's not like insanely long to skim through. No, I think you get it. Yeah, it's like small adjustments. I will say, and this is separate because I got to cut the VOD pretty much around here anyway, just so it's easier to like put on YouTube without editing. But do you do much fuzzy throwing defensively? I honestly don't remember. I haven't been playing Exerd, so I don't keep track of people's habits. Like, do you know about just like teching defensively? Oh my god, I can't play Exerd. Oh my god, like that. It's like a pretty interesting thing because I guess Slayers like wouldn't really do it that much. You know, the points where Tri versus Dizzy. I'm gonna talk about it. Let me cut the VOD. I'll talk about this separately because this doesn't really have anything to do with your actual VOD analysis, but it's like a general game point. So I'll cover it, but not in this. Anybody that cares about bi-weekly VOD review that somehow is watching this, they happen every other week. They're on the @BikenPlayer handle on bluesky. I post the forums every like other Monday or so. It's gonna be like a long break until holidays are over, but we should be back like after that. Anyways, I'm cutting it here. I'll restart. I'm just cutting it for the YouTube VOD. But thanks for stopping by if you were only here for VOD review.